Our next one is a lot more serious, titled Family Roles Disagreement. OP says, I want to know if I'm the a-hole. My partner and I are engaged and live together. I am 27 weeks pregnant with our first baby. We both work. And right now we split all bills, rent, food and gas 50-50. I've never tried to argue that that's not fair, despite him making an 80K salary plus VA disability and free college, while I make 50K. Due to the nature of my work, I am not paid for any time off and I will not get any paid maternity leave. I have already lost income due to the pregnancy, doctor's appointments, needing extra rest, nausea, and I am now about to miss 8 weeks of work to recover from a scheduled C-section. I brought up finances to my partner and he said it would feel unfair to him if he has to pay my share of bills while I'm off work. I was a little hurt by that because we are living as a family and I wanted to feel supported by him while I'm missing income and spending my time parenting our baby. He has already said that I will need to be the one up at night because his job is more demanding. So he suggested that if I don't have the savings to continue paying my half of everything while off, that it would be fair for me to pay him back when I start working again. The conversation hurt my feelings because I don't ask him for anything extra ever. I always pay my half of everything and I don't have a problem with that in general. This situation is making me feel like he doesn't see any value in the sacrifice that I'm making for our family. I cringed so hard when I read this. Honestly, in general, I struggle to understand people who split finances in this kind of way in a relationship. Like if you're living in a relationship, but you aim to split everything 50-50, no matter what, then I would probably say your relationship does not have enough room or understanding in it for real life circumstances and how things develop and how things change, and an understanding for the idea that different people contribute in different ways. Because, for example, one person might contribute more in household chores, the other person might contribute more in money, those roles might switch over time, etc., etc. So on some level, I already kind of fundamentally disagree with their model and their system. At the very least, it would never work for me. And I don't think it works for a lot of people quite as well as they think it should. That said, this is not a partnership. This isn't a relationship. This is basically living as roommates together. And when you have roommates, you have no obligation to the other person. You have no reason to take on any of their burden at any time. You have no commitment to each other. You have no connection to each other whatsoever. And that's why it's very easy to say, okay, we just split everything 50-50, irrespective of how much you earn, because it doesn't matter how much you earn. Now, as far as I understand it, if you're actually in a long-term committed relationship and you plan on being together for good, then at the very least, there should be some level of understanding of, okay, we have a shared pool of money and that money, we both pay into it and we pay bills out of it. And even if you keep some amount of money separate in your own separate accounts or something, at the very least, there should be some level of commitment to each other and to your relationship and to your house and to your future baby, that you understand you cannot keep finances quite so separate forever. It completely boggles my mind that OP ever accepted this as the status quo. And you can see the result of it in terms of actual actions. Like, I would say that this is not a man that I could respect, and this is not a man that I would ever want to be with. And his explanation for it and his reasoning for it, I just have no sympathy whatsoever. In the same way that it is the woman who is pregnant and who has to carry the baby for 9 months and who has to give birth and who has to look after him overnight and who has to nurse and breastfeed and so on, the amount that is being asked for from the man during that period of time is to provide for the family. Because that period of time is a time in which the woman cannot work to anywhere near the same extent that she can work at any other period of time. And it makes me so sad that we've gotten to this point as a society where that is neither appreciated nor is it even understood or accepted. The fact that OP says, this conversation hurt my feelings because I don't ask him for anything extra ever. This is not asking him for anything extra. This is, hey, I'm going to be having your child and I can't work for that time. Oh my God, I honestly just can't believe that anyone would ever respond that way. And I'm not even sure how after that kind of response you can recover your relationship. Because what it says, what it actually means in practice, is that he does not care. He doesn't care about her. He doesn't care about the baby. He doesn't care about trying to provide a house for either of them. The expectation of, hey, you have to pay me every single dime that I spend on you, means that he is not in this at all. And not only is he not in this, he doesn't have this perception or this understanding that, hey, the fact that she is carrying the baby means that there is already an inherent inequality in their relationship that he can never overcome. And the fact that he has to pay bills for a couple of months, like for 8 weeks specifically, not even for a year, because she wants to take a serious amount of time off and actually look after her child, which is, by the way, for the majority, for a lot of places in the world, it's a pretty reasonable thing to do when the mother has a baby, that she takes serious time off work. He is an awful human being. He is truly an awful human being. And as far as I can tell, OP is a little bit of a doormat, and she's not fighting for herself, and how she ended up in this position or in this relationship, I feel bad for her. If I were you, I would honestly kind of explain to him that this is non-negotiable. That this is not only hurtful from the perspective of he's saying no because you're asking for something. It's hurtful from the perspective of he's making it clear that he does not care about you as a lifelong partner. That isn't even in consideration. Like, would he let you live on the streets if you lost your job? Would he say, oh, okay, you can stay in the house, but you're going to have to pay me for every extra dime that I spend on food for you that you can't cover for yourself? Like, to what extent is this a reasonable response? I honestly, like, I have no advice for OP here, just because it's such a foreign idea and a foreign concept for me that I'm speechless. When she says if the situation is making me feel like he doesn't see any value in the sacrifice that I'm making for our family. Having a baby is not a sacrifice. Getting pregnant is not a sacrifice. It is, I guess, in some ways, if you think about it in a really awful way. It's not a sacrifice. It's an awesome privilege and an honor to be able to do that. And it just really, 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 really sucks when you are doing it, when you're not surrounded by people who actually care about it and who value it and who want to support you during that time. So yeah, I would absolutely not be covering. Honestly, if I had to cover my bills while I was pregnant anyway, then I would probably say, hey, what's the point in us being in a relationship? Like, why are we even together? As you can see, the very first person says, leave him now. And you can see all of the comments from everyone else. Why, like, they talk about whether you should spend time in couples therapy. Do you think this is fixable? And this commenter says, no, I also wouldn't couple up and make a baby with a man like that to begin with. So you're asking the wrong person. I'm of the opinion that you can save $1 million on therapy, lawyers, court fees, and heartache if you're just a little bit more picky about who you get in relationships with and who you make babies with. And unfortunately, I kind of agree. This is just really sad. This is terrible. The next person says, I truly can't fathom my husband, then boyfriend, saying that we should split things 50-50 when he made significantly more money and has much more earning potential than me. We'd never have moved in together, and we certainly wouldn't have our beautiful children, that's for sure. So yes, next person says, agree, he sounds selfish and immature. It's not acceptable. Let's summarize. Number one, he expects you to do all nighttime care, which, let's be real, also means you'll be doing all care period because he works during the day. And number two, he doesn't think he should cover the household expenses while you recover for 8 weeks after major surgery. And then number three, he expects you to pay him back while also covering your half of the bills when you go back to work. I would 10,000% be rethinking marrying someone like this. Go to the relationship board and read all of the sad stories of women who have husbands that don't help with a thing. That's what your future will be with someone like this. Run now before you're trapped. And then this person says, bill him half the cost of any income lost during pregnancy and postpartum. The child is half his. Then bill him half of whatever services you provide for the child or the household beyond a 50-50 split. Bill by the hour, nanny, housekeeper, cook, etc. If you don't benefit financially from his more demanding job, why should he benefit domestically from your less demanding one? Or you can leave. Now, obviously, as you can tell, people don't really give any constructive help here because it's such an out there type of scenario and type of situation that pretty much everyone is like, ugh, How did you even end up in this position to begin with? I really don't know, OP, if there's any way for you to get past this. I would hope that maybe if your partner listens to some Jordan Peterson or other similar types of people, that he'll get his head screwed on straight, and then he'll understand what his role is as the partner when his wife or when his fiance is pregnant, and that he will hopefully at some point understand how to move on from this type of request and get exactly why it's so absolutely ridiculous and out there. It's a real shame. I hope for all people that these are things that you discuss before you get pregnant, because honestly, quite a lot of the problems that people seem to suffer from are this fundamental mismatch of values. And if at least your values are in the same place and you understand what his role is and what your role is and how you both of you contribute to the relationship and what those contributions should look like, then in an ideal scenario, you wouldn't even have a question like this. But to have the problem when you're already pregnant, when you're already working, when you're already in the situation where you're like, hey, I'm not going to be able to pay XYZ off unless you step up, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure from the very beginning.